And good morning, everybody. Welcome, Hot Takes, Goodman and Haertl. Bruce, how are you?
I am well, Eric. How was your weekend?
It was good. As a company, your fundraising team, we had two events. I did the Boys and Girls Club of Weld County. We had a huge night. Alex, who works with Andy Zoden, Andy is one of the fundraisers / auctioneers on our team. Big night for Summit Classical Academy. I know that you were at the Boys and Girls Club of Metro Denver, and all three of us sportscasters were working while the Nuggets and the Avs were playing. How much were you keeping your eye on the games?
Every second of both.
Yeah.
And I chuckled because one of your last words of admonition to me were, don't be that guy. I was that guy. I was in a place where it was like, no big deal. I can figure this out. I kept it underneath the table and just kept my eyes on both of them at the same time. The Nuggets, the way that they played, made it easier to kind of zero in a little bit more on the Avs and the distress that we were starting to feel into the third period there. So, but it was a very nice evening. I'm glad everyone had a successful evening. I'm glad that your guys' events made money. Certainly the boys and girls clubs of Denver made a lot of money. So from that standpoint, it was a really good night for everyone but the Avs.
Was Sarah nudging you at all? Like,
nope.
Put the phone.
No, in fact, she was sneaking peeks the whole time. Oh yeah. Sarah's a good sports fan. She and the Nuggets are her deal. That's her jelly. So she really likes the whole Nuggets and the NBA, and she's been a basketball fan, ever since we've been raising kids. So
well, the Nuggets are moving on, and if you want to watch tonight's game 1, the Thunder against the Nuggets, highly recommend you go to the Sportsbook Bar and Grill. That place is going to be popping tonight. They have two locations. One is in the DTC. The other one is in Highlands Ranch, right around the corner from my house. Started off with some great apps, maybe like some Brussels sprouts or cheese curds, Philly cheesesteak egg rolls. You're going to have so many burgers to choose from, great wings, outstanding drinks. And really, when you walk in there, a lot of sports bars say, every seat's a good seat in the house. If you walk into the DTC location, it is literally a row of TVs over the bar. It looks like a sports book, literally. And then in the location in Highlands Ranch, they have this huge LED wall with TVs all over the place as well. It's a great experience to go. Sportsbook Bar and Grill. Find them in the DTC and Highlands Ranch, and coming soon to Parker. Time now for The Lead.
The Lead is presented by Sasquatch Casino, a family-owned casino that treats you like family.
Steve Ballmer flew in 120 Clippers fans for the game to set up the wall.
Yeah.
It seems to me like the only people who showed up for that game, literally and figuratively, were those fans who were wearing Clippers jerseys, because the guys who get paid to wear Clippers jerseys didn't show up. Now, no disrespect to the Nuggets at all, because they ran those guys off the floor. I never thought in my wildest imagination the game would be so lopsided.
No. There was no indication in this series that it would be this way. But you know how it goes. We've seen it before. Sometimes you get into a game, and when you've only got 48 minutes to hit to figure out your stride, to get your rhythm, and it's not there, it doesn't matter whether it's a game 7 or the first game of the exhibition season. You just have problems doing it. I think that the Nuggets helped to facilitate that for the Clippers, and you do give credit where it's due. I thought they played a marvelous game, particularly in the second and the third periods. They were even good, defensively. They forced them into 14 turnovers, they shot only 29% from deep. James Harden was an absolute non-factor, total non-factor. And it was a triumphant night for the Nuggets, who now roll into this second series, the impossible series against Oklahoma City. And I'm not so sure that I can't make an argument. I'm not saying it's a good one, that it could be a better matchup for them. Now, I said, I'm not saying it may not be a really good argument, but as we roll into this week, we'll make it and see where the thing lands.
Okay, Lloyd Christmas. We'll get into that a little bit later on in the show. By the way, you have told me many times that you are becoming more and more of a hockey fan, and you just hammered home that point directly about 45 seconds ago when you referred to the Nuggets dominating the second and third periods.
I did. Sorry about that.
No, you don't have to be sorry. I'm just saying I believe they are called quarters. And with that, with the Nuggets moving on to the second round, here's a crazy stat, although it's not really necessarily surprising for Nikola Jokic, maybe a little bit more surprising for the history of the Nuggets organization. Do you know that before Nikola Jokic arrived, the Nuggets organization had won 11 playoff series total in the history of the franchise? With Nikola Jokic, they have now won 10 playoff series. With that, there was an anonymous Nuggets executive who was quoted, although I don't know if you're really quoted if you're anonymous, with ESPN. He said, if we don't make the changes from Malone to Adelman, there is no way we even get to a game 7. You believe that?
Not necessarily, but again, I will give credit where it's due. David Adelman is 7-3 as the interim head coach of this team. His leadership has certainly resonated with this basketball team.
Just answer the question. Do you believe they would have been playing Oklahoma City tonight?
Probably not. I mean, not the way that things had been going for them. I mean, if you judge the end game for Michael Malone, it wasn't good. You needed, and this is my point, David Adelman changed the direction, changed the narrative. I don't know if he changed the expectation, but regardless, they were able to win a game 7. They got to a game 7 and won a game 7. No, my money wouldn't have been on them to have gotten to a game 7 with Michael Malone. Only because, as you and I have pointed out, I think that the message had been lost a little bit, or just not heard. The message was probably understood. I'm just not sure how much guys were buying in at that particular point. And with David Adelman, they got a reset. I'm using his term, not even my term, his term, a reset. And it's done good things for them. Like I said, I mean, they're 7-3 since he became head coach. Those 3 games that they won, they needed to win. So there was pressure in the way that the season finished, and certainly there was pressure in this series. And I think it's absolutely fantastic. So more power to them.
I think it's interesting how one game can completely change the trajectory of a narrative and somebody's career. You covered Kansas like I covered Kansas. We both covered Roy Williams. When Roy won his first national championship, it was with North Carolina.
Yeah.
Is that correct?
Correct.
And he was asked about it, and he said, does this validate your career? And he basically said in so many words, and I'm really paraphrasing, he said something like, I won an extra game. I won a championship. I get it, but this doesn't change my career. My career is my career. The reason why I'm bringing this up is, and I'm going to tether this to what we're going to talk about with the Avs. It is amazing to me how the narrative could have been so different had the outcomes been different on Saturday night. Nuggets won. I don't think any reasonable person would say David Adelman will now not be the full-time head coach of the Nuggets. I think he solidified that. There is also plenty of people out there, media and fans, saying Jared Bednar, he should be out. We've seen enough, won a championship. Maybe the message has run thin. How many game 7s is Bednar and his team's going to lose? How many 1-goal games in the playoffs is his team going to lose? Let's flip it around just for fun. What if the Nuggets lost? The narrative would be Adelman can't handle the job. And if the Avs would have won, why wouldn't we keep Bednar? They're on to the second round. It's amazing how one game flips it. One outcome flips it.
I'm more in the camp to think that Adelman had already won the job, but I understand the narrative. I do. I understand it. Bednar is more, that's a little bit more of a sticky wicket for me.
And we'll get into that. And we will get into that.
But your point is good. Yes, your point is good. The immediacy of the moment and the emotion that sparks it is an interesting thing because and we're on a show called Hot Takes. People will burn quickly in the face of a result. And it is remarkable to see how direct people can be about the future of their franchises based on one 60-minute snapshot or one 48-minute snapshot. So the point is made, and it's a good one.
I mean, either way, if this was going to be a Game 7 split, whichever way it went, Nuggets, Avs, either way, there would be villagers outside of Ball Arena with pitchforks and torches. Just the question was, what colors would they be wearing? Would it be powder blue and gold, or would it be burgundy and blue? But let's get into tonight's game. I look at this particular series. Do I think the Nuggets have a chance? Lloyd Christmas? Yes, of course I think they have a chance. Okay, they have Nikola Jokic on their team. But I think their margin for error is just razor thin. I don't want to say they have to play perfect basketball, but looking at the way that Adelman, for lack of a better phrase, and this is a shot at Calvin Booth, for the way that Adelman had to use his starters, you just wonder when they're going to run out of gas.
Yes.
Playing an incredibly deep team. If it was just starting 5 against starting 5, street ball, no bench, I like the Nuggets' chances a lot better.
It's an interesting point, and I agree. I will say this.
I'm not saying they'd win.
No.
But I'm saying I like their chances a lot better if it was 5-on-5, not full team against full team.
I had incorrectly, and was glad that I was incorrectly forecasting the Clippers in 7. I didn't miss by much, but that's the pick. So I'm standing by it.
Clippers in 6.
Yeah.
Are you kidding?
Yeah.
I picked the Avs to win. I was wrong on both. If
Yeah.
you're doing any gambling watching this, do not bet on anything that I say clearly.
Well, I mean, yeah. I thought the Avs were going to win too. So 0 for 2 on that. But I like Oklahoma City in 6 in this. I think the Nuggets can win a couple of games. I don't know if they can win tonight. You just touched upon a really key point for me tonight. They've had one day. And that day, by the way, included traveling. They got on a plane and went to Oklahoma City. And now they turn around and play tonight a very deep team that's had 9 days of rest. Now, Nuggets Nation out there is hoping that it's going to be 9 days of rust, not 9 days of rest. This is a very good basketball team. David Adelman has already called them the best team in the NBA. No one is here to debate that. But what we are debating is what you can do on a night-to-night basis in a 48-minute matchup. I don't like it tonight simply because the Nuggets have played so much basketball, so much meaningful, emotional basketball in the last 10 days. And I think it's going to be tough for them to flip the switch tonight. For whatever it's worth, they're 9.5-point underdogs on the road.
I was just looking it up on my phone. That's why I was like turning away. I didn't know what the spread was. Here, what would you do on that spread?
I think I'd take Oklahoma City and give the points.
No.
It sets up for me as that kind of game tonight. Now, I think you get the dust settled. You get back. You get another night. You get one night off. You get back into game 2 coming up on Wednesday. And with 2 games coming up in Denver, things can change. I think tonight is a tough road to hoe.
Do you think that this series should be built as, in theory, a referendum on who the MVP should be? Because it's SGA and Jokic. There's going to be a lot of focus on that. You're going to hear the MVP chants in both buildings.
Yeah.
for their own guy, right?
Yeah.
Funny thing is, for as great as this matchup is, I think the better matchup is Anthony Edwards and Steph Curry, because they will go against each other.
Yeah. Yeah, that'll be fantastic. From a standpoint of which series would you rather watch if you were alone on an island and could only pick one, it would be Minnesota and Golden State.
Yes.
For me anyway. I mean, but we've got skin in the game with the Nuggets. Maybe that would change it a little bit. Yes. I think that Jokic, the biggest change for me in this series is that Jokic will have room to operate. Not much more room. Zubac is a good man-to-man matchup for Jokic. You got Hartenstein and you've got Holmgren now, right? You've got two big bodies that are long, but they're different kind of defenders than Zubac, who can muscle you and did muscle Nikola Jokic with some success. So he to me becomes much more relevant as a scorer and a dictator of where things are going in this series, because I think he'll have more room to roam.
My biggest concern is Jamal Murray being impactful in this series.
Yeah.
The perimeter defense is just so good for Oklahoma City. They're just going to hit him in waves. Chris Dunn is really good. He's a great defensive player. But you throw in Lou Dort, you throw in SGA if you want to throw him on there. You throw in Caruso. It's just one after the next. And Christian Brown, he's going to have a tough time getting his shot off as well.
Lou Dort, by the way, is one of the underrated players on this roster. He shouldn't be, but he's a physical guy too. Bowen. He's a big
scorer a lot, but he's a terrific defensive player.
And he's a big, strong guy too. He's tough to move, and he'll body you. Oklahoma City's a marvelous team, and I'm not going to go so far as to say I'm not going to be so cavalier as to say that the Nuggets are playing with house money, but the pressure's on Oklahoma City. They're the ones. They've lost 6 games at home all season. They are the prohibitive favorites in the West. They are probably the odds-on favorite to win the NBA championship. They are a team now in its second year of evolution in terms of postseason play, success, and expectations. And they have, I think, the favorite for the MVP in SGA. So I'm not going to argue that. Getting back to your question, to answer it directly, I don't think it's a referendum. It will be for fan bases, but those decisions have already been made because votes are being cast and it's a regular season award.
X factor for the Nuggets, certainly in the Clippers series, was Russell Westbrook. Russell Westbrook is a fiery guy, talented guy, can make great things happen. He can also make some decisions. You're just shaking your head. I don't like an overly confident Russell Westbrook. I don't like him sitting at that podium saying the things that he said.
Yeah.
I don't want him to feel that good about himself. I want him to feel a little bit down on himself, putting him in a position where he feels, not that he has something to prove, he's a Hall of Famer, he has nothing to prove, but when he's talking like he talked on the podium, he wasn't talking like, I'll show you. He was talking like, I am here. I'm a disruptor. This is me. And the more he says that stuff, the more I think to myself, well, he's going to want to be more and more involved. I like how he was involved and the level that he was involved. I don't want him feeling it's him and Jokic now, because it's not him and Jokic now.
No.
But when you listen to him talk, that's how it is starting to feel to me.
It's interesting that you say that, Eric, because you and I have talked about the feast and famine of Russell Westbrook, which to me is very real, feast or famine. And he, even though we have talked about it and we recognize it, when it comes out of his mouth, the very things that we've been saying, or that people have been saying, it doesn't sound as good, even though he's agreeing with basically everybody that's ever made a description of Russell Westbrook. You take the good with the bad, and you just deal with it. But when it comes out of his mouth, it doesn't sound the way that you want it to sound. No. That's what bothered me about those remarks in real time. It was like, I get what you're saying, but that's probably not the message that we need to have here.
Bruce, he was puffing out his chest. He was peacocking.
He was.
And as I said many times about people who peacock, if you peacock, just understand you could be turned into a feather duster. And I do not anticipate Russell Westbrook shooting over 40% from three-point range. He had a tremendous series. Maybe the matchups were better for him. And I think that they were. Listen, they left him open. Mm-hmm. You think with that perimeter defense, they're going to leave him open? Probably not. The Nuggets are a six-man team. That's it. It's clear now, heading into the second round, Oklahoma City needs to concentrate on six guys and six guys only. No disrespect to Peyton Watson. Russell Westbrook is going to have his hands full with Caruso and Lou Dort and SGA and so on and so forth. When it comes to perimeter defense, that's where they are as strong as any team in the league. And oh, by the way, you need Westbrook and Murray on the perimeter to hit shots. Westbrook did against the Clippers, but did you see that Clippers defense in Game 6 and Game 7? It's not going to be the same for Oklahoma City. Coming up after the break, as I am watching the Avalanche against the Stars, up 2-0, 13 minutes to go in the game, I'm thinking, wow, it's one of the worst experiences as a fan you could probably feel. But what was worse? The loss on Saturday for a Denver fan in a game you probably should have won and ready to take on Winnipeg, or the Nuggets blowing a 20-point lead against Minnesota in the fourth quarter at home for the right to go to the Western Conference Finals. As a Denver fan, which was worse? Also, a lot of people are saying, media people and fans, Jared Bednar needs to go. Chris MacFarland needs to go. That's next.
Ever wondered where city and county fleet vehicles go when they retire? Now's your chance to find out and score big. Imagine driving away with a great deal on a reliable vehicle. For over 45 years, Roller Auction has been the trusted source for government fleet vehicles and equipment. Trucks, SUVs, sedans, and more, all selling to the highest bidder. Don't miss out. Visit roller.bid/hot takes to get auction updates today. Your next vehicle could be just a click away.
Everyone has their favorite barbecue spot. Mine, Smokin' Dave's Barbecue and Brew. My favorites, slowly smoked ribs, smoked corned beef Reuben, smoked meatloaf with a portobello balsamic cream sauce. Don't forget about Smokin' Dave's 16-hour smoked brisket and pork with one of their 4 homemade barbecue sauces. Great sides, you bet. Barbecue beans made with pork and brisket and their southern corn bake. Man, you gotta try it. Plus, they have amazing non-barbecue entrees on the menu. Go where I go, Smokin' Dave's Barbecue and Brew in North Denver.
Sasquatch and Wildcard Casinos in Blackhawk have another incredible promotion. They'll be giving away a Ford Bronco Raptor or nearly $30,000 in cash the weekend of May 23rd. Get finalist entries from 10 a.m. until midnight during their daily cash drawings every 45 minutes or by redeeming player points. And all daily cash drawings that don't get picked are eligible for a second chance drawing on Wednesdays, and that can turn into extra cash. Sasquatch and Wildcard Casinos, a family-owned casino that treats you like family.
Spice up your next night out at Nola Jane and Lodo. Authentic Cajun cuisine like andouille sausage gumbo with dirty rice, crawfish etouffee, as well as 6 different po' boys like soft-shell crab and shrimp. Come in before or after a game at Ball Arena. Host a party or party on their rooftop deck overlooking Market Street during happy hour from 11 a.m. to 5. Plus, Nola Jane caters, delivers, and the kitchen is open late night. Make Nola Jane your new favorite spot to eat, drink, and party like it's Mardi Gras.
Everyone has their favorite sports bar. Mine, the Sportsbook Bar and Grill in Highlands Ranch in the DTC. Both locations are everything a sports bar should be. An upscale menu with 12 different burgers, outstanding wings, and my favorite, the Philly cheesesteak egg rolls. They've got every game on the NFL Sunday Ticket, MLB Extra Innings, NHL Center Ice, NBA League Pass, plus soccer, rugby, and UFC. Sportsbook is a hangout bar or great for private parties. The Sportsbook Bar and Grill in Highlands Ranch, the DTC, and coming soon to Parker. They are the sports bar. And welcome back. Hot Takes Goodman and Haertl. Avs are out. You and I both thought they would win this series. Time now for What's Trending.
What's Trending is presented by Nola Jane in the heart of Lodo. No one does Cajun cuisine better than Nola Jane. Go see why their award-winning menu is the best in town.
Bruce, what loss was more painful? Saturday night, Avs 2-goal lead, 13 minutes to play, and Rantanen goes for a hat trick in the third period. Granted, one was an empty net goal, and then they get bounced. Or what happened last year when they played Minnesota, 20-point lead at home in the fourth quarter, and they lose for the right to go to the Western Conference Final. Which loss felt worse?
Boy, that's about as tough a one. And you throw these at me all the time. That's about as tough a one as I can remember. I'm going to say it was the Avs. They had the just like the Nuggets, they had the game in hand. They were in control. But you could see the chinks in the armor for the Nuggets in that game. You could see them kind of running out of gas. The Avs were clearly still the better team 8 minutes into that game, into that third period. Yep. They were up 2-0 on the road. They were on the verge of advancing in the West and slaying some of the demons that have haunted this franchise, and particularly Jared Bednar in Game 7s. The Avs are only, and this is an aside, sorry about this, the Avs are only 1-3 in playoff series since they won the Cup. 1-3. That's remarkable to me. And I know that they play in the Central Division, and it's a very difficult division. But so do the Dallas Stars. So do the Winnipeg Jets. I mean, they find ways to win series. It didn't happen for the Avs. I'm going to say the Avs eke it out. And I don't think it's just because of recentism, because I remember being extremely frustrated with the Nuggets last year. But the Avs, I think you and I thought, were a Stanley Cup contender. I don't think that the Nuggets were an NBA championship contender last year, even in that series with Minnesota.
I would agree with that. Let's add on to what happened to the Avalanche in this series. They were the better team. Listen, if you just simply look at a stat sheet, and I understand that the stat sheet does not tell the entire story, they outshot the Stars, they outhit the Stars. Their faceoff percentage was better. I don't want to say they dominated necessarily on Saturday night, but they were the better team. They were the better team throughout this entire series. The problem is they kept blowing third period leads. It's kind of like an NFL team. You're leading in the fourth quarter and you're blowing fourth quarter leads. You look at a bullpen in baseball. I can go on and on with the similarities there. But you really have to wonder, when a team keeps blowing late leads like that, who is that on? Is it on the GM who has constructed the roster? Is it on the head coach who maybe his message is not getting through? And I'm going to throw this out there, and I hope nobody firebombs my house when I say this, because what I'm about to say is everybody is responsible for that collapse in Game 7. Everyone is responsible pretty much for 2 overtime losses. Gabriel Landeskog was the story of the first round for all of the NHL, considering he came back and played. But he played, and he's back. They were missing their captain. That's what we heard the last 2 years. We're missing our captain. We don't have our captain. I'm not certainly pinning this on him.
Mm-mm.
Everyone's going after Bednar. I understand why. MacFarland, Rantanen trade. By the way, it was still a smart trade today because they needed to have depth throughout their lineup. And by the way, was anybody criticizing Chris MacFarland through the opening 4 games of the series?
No.
How about the first 5 games of the series? Probably no, not really.
And I just want to make sure that I've got the routing clear in my head. They did trade him to Carolina, right?
Yes. And then
they traded him to Carolina. He ended up in Dallas. So okay.
So back to this. Where was all of that great leadership from Gabriel Landeskog in that third period? If we're going to hand out blame, he is the captain. He is the calming force in that locker room. He is the calming force. I'm not blaming this on him. I'm just saying there are a lot of culprits in losing this series. Let's not hand our flowers to Gabriel Landeskog because he came back after 3 years, which is remarkable. Don't get me wrong. But he is the captain on this team. Period. I'm not singling him out. And I feel like I need to keep repeating this over and over again because people are going to get upset with me. How dare you, insult and go after the golden child who's been out. What I'm saying right now is like a comedian, telling jokes about the handicapped. Seriously, you just don't do that as a comedian. And I'm not going after Gabriel Landeskog. And I was talking to somebody on the phone yesterday. Said to me, well, if Landeskog would have played in game 2, maybe we wouldn't have been in a game 7. Oh, it's funny because in the next game he did play, they did lose in overtime. Right? So I guess the influence wasn't that great. And then what happened in the third period was inexcusable for everybody. I can understand why people want Jared Bednar out. He's been here 9 years. Since winning the Cup, it really hasn't been that great for his team. Before the Cup, it really wasn't that great for his team either. He's had one shining moment.
Mm-hmm.
And Michael Malone was here for 10 years, and he got gassed, but for different reasons. Arguing with Calvin Booth, lost the locker room. I don't think that Jared Bednar has lost the locker room. But when you have a guy who has a really calm demeanor like Jared Bednar does, sometimes you have to wonder, is a calm demeanor the right demeanor for a team that keeps blowing third period leads? I'm not suggesting you bring in the football equivalent of, I don't know, a yeller. Who'd be a major yeller on the sidelines in the NFL? Give me a guy.
Trying to think of a yeller.
How about a Vince Lombardi? He was a yeller, right? The hockey equivalent of Vince Lombardi is Mike Keenan. I'm not suggesting you bring in a Mike Keenan type of guy. That's not what I'm referring to. But if you want to put the blame on Bednar, that's fine. But I do know this. I'm sure when he was coaching at practice one day, how to stop a 1-on-3 break, meaning Rantanen against 3 guys. I'm wondering if those guys were paying attention that day because Rantanen skated through 3 Avs players. That's not on Bednar. That's not on Bednar. And if you want to say, well, their power play sucked during the playoffs, that's fine. But you also need to say they had the best power play in the league right after the Rantanen trade. If you want to go after Chris MacFarland, that's fine. Oh, what a shitty Rantanen trade that was. Well, Rantanen didn't do anything until game 5, right? And Nature played pretty well, specifically for the money and the other guys that they got back. But is it fair to say that at least they have their goaltender for the future, right?
Yeah.
Are we maybe at 1 or 2 games, but are we really putting this whole series on Blackwood? I don't think that we are. It's MacFarland that found Blackwood, now has Wedgwood. Now they have at least some balance in their lines. McCarr didn't play well. I mean, no. There's a lot of blame to go around. And as somebody said to me on the phone yesterday, somebody's head needs to roll. Maybe it does. I don't know what's going on inside that building, on where the fault line really is and who's standing on it. But I do know this. Nathan McKinnon said it best after the game. They were missing their best defensive player and maybe their best forward, who was their leading goal scorer. And we still could not beat them. I don't know what we are going to do. And that, to me, is what is so daunting about heading into the offseason.
I'm cool with Gabe Landeskog. I thought that he did bring an element to this team.
I'm not uncool with Gabe Landeskog at all.
Yeah. No, I know. I know you're not. I'm just.
All I'm saying is he is the captain, and let's not shield him from any type of culpability. He is the captain of the team. He's supposed to bring calm and confidence. He's not to blame, but let's not overlook that their captain after 3 years was finally on the ice. That is not an unfair comment or criticism. It's just not.
No, it isn't. I think the pushback on that would be you had 5 games to kind of reestablish yourself. But we'll see where that moves forward. I think you bring up a really good point amongst the many good points you just made. But the one that will stick with me, and the one that I believe is really, for me, the narrative now moving forward, is one of moderation. And I understand people in the moment being angry. I get it. 3 of 22 on the power play. I understand all of that. And I understand that we live in a day and an age of looking for the best, nearest best target to fire our vitriol or our dissatisfaction to. I'm going to say, chill. Moderation is where we need to be here. I get what they did with Michael Malone. There were cracks in the foundation that you could see at that point. Maybe people see that with the Avs as well, but I would argue that you've got a winning organization that has won at the highest level. You have the coach and the general manager who have helped to facilitate that. And the most important thing to me is that you need to have this group beyond just the core. You need to have this group, as they built this team throughout the course of the season, be together for a year. Look at how many, you and I have talked all season about how much the roster has changed. And yes, they had depth and they had their lines set up and all of those things. They had talent ready to go, but they haven't been together as a unit.
Hold on a second. And I agree with everything that you just said. And it's about playing together. But when you blow leads in the third period,
yes,
and
I
3
agree.
of your 4 losses, that is not a playing together thing. That is an up here killer instinct thing. We need to keep our foot on the gas. And they didn't. They didn't.
That could very well be. I would say that it has a lot to do with
football. When you keep blowing fourth quarter leads, is it talent or is it a mentality? Because the talent
it's a mentality. It's a mentality.
Because the talent got you that lead in the fourth quarter.
Right.
No. Talent got you there. So
I would agree. My deal would be, I think that you've got leadership in place. To your point, MacFarland made the moves that everyone was extolling the virtues of, including the Mikko Rantanen trade. Let's not go back and revise history. Let's just call it what it is. Hey, you give him his flowers. He had his moment. That happens sometimes.
Let me make this real clear. And you brought it up, but I'm just going to say it far more directly. Chris MacFarland did not trade Mikko Rantanen to the Dallas Stars.
No.
So don't blame him for getting rid of Rantanen. He did not trade him to the Stars, where then Rantanen has a game of a lifetime, right? And oh, by the way, Rantanen skated through 3. It was a 1-on-3 break.
Yeah.
Let me say it again. It was Rantanen and 3 guys, and he skated through all of them. And the one thing, listen, Sammy Girard is a good player. He's a quick player. He's cost-controlled. I'm not going to say anything negative about him because he's involved in a nonprofit that I'm involved with. He's a really nice guy. So it's hard for me to say this, but I'll say this. It bothered me, his reaction when Rantanen scored. Like, oh, you didn't get there fast enough. Sammy, you didn't get there fast enough. And I understand you're not the size of Rantanen. And when you reach out your arm, your stick is not going to be as long as, say, Rantanen. I'm not saying that Sammy didn't, and it's not on him. Listen, again, there are a lot of, there are a lot of people to blame for this. Listen, it went off of his skate. It just didn't look like he had a sense of urgency getting to Rantanen. And that's why the puck went off his skate. There was a lot of that in this series.
I agree.
But the Avs, listen, at the end of the day, who was the better team? Hey, the Stars were, because they won in 4.
Yeah.
Meaning they won 4 games.
They did what they needed to do.
But if
now,
you watch...
I will be very interested to see what I know what the core of this team is going to be, the guys that are coming back, and I want to see this group together without the movement that we saw throughout the entirety of the season. I want to see what this group looks like. What does this team look like with home ice advantage in this series? And look, it got to a game 7, so anything can change the balance of a series, right? I mean, what if Dallas had their best defender and their best scorer? We don't know all of those things, but I do know this. I think if the Avs have, and most of a season with this group as playing as one unit, they are going to be that much better of a team. They've already taken care of the goalkeeping situation, right?
This is what concerns
we
me.
believe that.
All the concerns of the past are no longer concerns, and they had the advantage in this. Maybe not home ice. Were they injured in the playoffs?
Right. No, but your point's good. Yeah.
They had Landeskog. They had Nichushkin. They were dealing with no injuries. Dallas was. In the past, the Avs have had injuries. The Avs have had major questions in goal. No questions in goal. They had everything going their way. And they couldn't close the door in the third period. That's all they had to do in one of those 3 games. And they were 0 for 3. You know, I'm purely speculating here because I have literally no proof of this. There is no possible way Cale Makar played this poorly without some sort of an injury.
I would bet on that as well.
There's just no way. He is just too good. I'm just waiting for an injury announcement to come out, I don't know, in a couple of months. Like, he had a major hand. He had 2 broken bones in his right hand. Something like that. And I believe he was dealing with a hand injury. Anyway, that's going to do it for us. You want to close with anything, Bruce?
No, I have the best intentions for the Nuggets tonight. Hope that they can find a way to be competitive in this game and take their chances. I do like the matchup. We'll get more into that, obviously, in the aftermath of the game tomorrow. But let's go Nuggets. I mean, this is where the winter hopes now have turned into spring aspirations. So let's get the Nuggets going.
Make it the best possible day you can.